Welcome back to Paul's Tech News, everyone. I have good news this week. Nothing happened. Well, not nothing. There were certainly events of note that took place in the world, and I do not mean to diminish those. But in terms of tech news, and specifically PC hardware-related tech news, things were pretty quiet. Which is nice, I think. It gives us a chance to take a breather, have a bit of a respite, and perhaps even enjoy a tasty beverage as we casually peruse the news that did trickle in. There were some NVIDIA GPU updates and even possible price drops rumored. RTX 4080 and 4090 laptops launched with some jaw-dropping sticker prices as well, and Google and Bing squared off to see who could integrate AI into their search engines better. And Bing decisively won round one, resulting in a $100 billion dip in Alphabet's market value. That's a harsh penalty for one wrong answer by Google's Bard chatbot, but to be fair, it's also an answer that they could have easily just Googled. The new era of everything being AI-powered sure is off to a great start. Kind of like today's show. Cheers.
Excellent!
Today's video is brought to you by the new Thermaltake Series 500 cases, available in black and snow finishes and built for optimal cooling performance. More than 60% of the panels are perforated with a stylish and functional hex pattern, with dust filters too, of course, while the 4 included CT140 ARGB fans provide airflow and lighting. There's a hinged tempered glass side panel, support for up to 420mm radiators, an available LCD upgrade kit, and more, so click the sponsor link in the video description to check out the Series 500 cases from Thermaltake. NVIDIA might drop the price of the RTX 4080, says this article from WCCF Tech, which would seem like great and noteworthy news if it wasn't for all the caveats that come along with it. It's a rumor, for one, sourced from the Chinese language website MyDrivers, simply indicating that when supply gets better at some indeterminate point in the future, the price could maybe drop from $1,200 to $1,100 or even $1,000 if NVIDIA is feeling generous, which is definitely what NVIDIA is known for, especially in recent years. But I have a question. How might supply get better, Hassan, who wrote this article, if RTX 40 series GPUs might see limited supply this quarter? The two halves of this headline seem to be at odds. Also, you only need one O in two right here. But who really knows? Perhaps this article is meant to fold inward upon itself to create a GPU news singularity where nothing makes sense and conclusions might be drawn from a mere smattering of insubstantial information. But that actually kind of just sounds like most normal tech news articles in 2023, so I suppose we'll have to roll with it, especially in a slow news week. Also included in the article was a tweet from Tech Epiphany, who shared sales numbers from one of Germany's biggest retailers, showing that the most popular GPUs right now are the RTX 3060 Ti, which is among the best bang for the buck in the sub $500 category on the NVIDIA side, and the 4070 Ti, the cheapest currently available 40 series GPUs. AMD is still moving a lot of 6000 series cards thanks to aggressive pricing, and Intel's Arc is there. It's there too, with 10 units sold. At least some people are buying them. It's about as popular as the RTX 3050, which is a card that I have never recommended, but it's still a big increase in sales over Intel's previous discrete graphics card offerings. Of course, gamers who are not the beneficiaries of a trust fund are still holding out for a reasonably priced next-gen graphics card that doesn't cost in the neighborhood of $1,000. And for NVIDIA fans in particular, the next possibility is the RTX 4070. Which will be a thing at some point, that much is safe to assume. Videocards.com has published what is apparently a heavily redacted embargo sheet for the upcoming launch though, indicating April as the on-shelf date, with scarcely more info to be discerned, unless you want to try to decipher what's under those gray pixelated areas there. I'm assuming it's a dick butt, or possibly several dick butts. The press and influencer reviews date is still TBD, which stands for totally dick butt, they just typoed it, and the actually listed SKU of PG141-SKU343 is for the reference edition RTX 4070, according to Twitter leaker Kopite7Kimi. There are two other variants, including a Founders Edition, and Videocards has charted out the remaining rumored specs for now. If true, the 4070 could feature 5,888 CUDA cores, 12GB of GDDR6X memory, and a 200-watt TDP. TDP, of course, stands for Totally Dick Putt, which is of course the sequel to Golf with Your Friends on Steam. Speaking of painful PC gaming experiences, anyone out shopping for one of the new gaming laptops that launched this week with Intel 13th Gen Core CPUs and NVIDIA RTX 4080 laptop or 4090 laptop GPUs will need to dilate their wallet holes just a bit wider to accommodate the bonkers prices that go along with them. $3,500 at the very cheapest for a 4090 laptop equipped model, with many models from MSI, Razer, and Asus selling for $4,000 to $5,000 or more. Now on the plus side, reviews have been very positive in terms of gen-on-gen performance for the new mobile gaming systems, with the RTX 4090 Laptop Edition often pushing out 40 to 60% more frames in game testing versus the previous top-tier RTX 3080 Ti laptop, with improvements to ray tracing and new feature support like DLSS 3.0. On the minus side, NVIDIA still gives us lots to complain about with their naming scheme and their pricing. The RTX 4090 laptop is nowhere near a true desktop RTX 4090, whether you look at the specs, where it's more akin to an underclocked RTX 4080 than anything else, or the performance, as Tim from Hardware Unboxed did, showing the 4090 desktop outperforming the 4090 laptop by 36% at 1440 and 56% at 4K. But since it's called a 4090 laptop, some consumers are bound to get confused and think they're getting something closer to the desktop version. And of course, manufacturers feel much freer to charge sky-high prices for their AIO PCs because they've got an RTX 4090 installed, because that's the fastest GPU for gaming, right? Unless it's the RTX 4090 laptop, of course, which is not a 4090 desktop, but we can rest assured that enough buyers won't know that difference and will pay for it anyway, which means NVIDIA will do all this again next generation, and the circle of life continues. Speaking of PC gaming, there's a new game for PCs and consoles out this week called Hogwarts Legacy. It's a Harry Potter game, and those who made it past the J.K. Rowling picket signs in order to buy it have had good things to say overall thus far. A quick glance at PC Gamer's review roundup shows a lot of 4s out of 5s and 8s or 9s out of 10s from people who get paid to play and review games, and that says a lot given the rabid and often picky Harry Potter fanbase. That's not to say the rollout was completely without issue. Early players who paid $70 for the deluxe edition, which included 3 days of early access, said the experience on PC was often less than optimal, with frame rates chugging and stuttering picking up particularly after one enters the Hogwarts castle proper. This was the case even with higher-end hardware, and the game has pretty steep requirements right out of the gate, recommending an RTX 2080 Ti or Radeon 6800 XT just for Ultra 1440 resolution gameplay. A patch issued Friday could offer some help for gamers whose systems are struggling, and there could also be some assistance provided by independent reviews that have been testing GPU performance. But even those should be cross-compared and likely redone as the game is patched up. Hardware Unboxed shows AMD's 7900 XT and XTX clearly outperforming even the likes of an NVIDIA RTX 4090 at the lower resolutions of 1080 and 1440, but the charts over on Tech Power Up seem to disagree somewhat. And both of them could be right, since performance varies so wildly depending on what area of the game is tested, what hardware is used, and what settings are enabled. The game does appear to be a memory hog, though. Get it? Hogwarts, particularly with ray tracing turned on, so gamers with an 8GB card or even the mighty RTX 3080 10GB could have issues if their VRAM gets all used up. Overall, the game seems to be in slightly better shape than Cyberpunk 2077 was at launch, which isn't saying a whole lot, I suppose. But even visual glitches like the characters appearing all blue or all green can be fixed by changing the game's high contrast settings. If you really want to be safe, just give it a month or two for the kinks to be ironed out with this game, and in the meantime, you can join me in continuing to play the game that truly established the Hogwarts legacy. That's Lego Harry Potter. All right, it's time for Tech Briefs. I won't keep you long. First, whether we want to or not, it's time to say farewell to Rocket Lake. Yes, the last hurrah for Intel's 14nm process that seemed to stick around forever. The Rocket Lake series of CPUs is going end of life, with final orders needing to be placed by August 25th and final shipments going out in February 2024. 11th Gen Rocket Lake was a weird entry in Intel's lineup using architecture designed for 10nm that was back-ported to 14nm. and awkwardly having lower core counts than the 10th gen CPUs that preceded it. It was also supplanted only 8 months after its debut in March 2021 by Alder Lake launching on the new LGA 1700 platform in October the same year. So here's to you, Rocket Lake. Thanks for teaching us that rockets and lakes don't mix. The latest salvo in AI's war for global dominance came this week as two major players jockeyed for position. On Tuesday, it was Microsoft showing off ChatGPT integration with Bing Search alongside a new version of their Edge browser. Now you can search for internet stuff conversationally with complex multi-part questions and get an AI-powered answer. What could go wrong? Well, the AI-provided answer could be wrong, as demonstrated by Google's new AI chatbot dubbed Bard on Monday. This was embarrassingly broadcasted in a Google tweet advertising the new service, which showed results to a question about the James Webb Space Telescope. Bard said JWST took the very first pictures of an exoplanet, which is simply not true. That distinction goes to the European Southern Observatory, which snapped some exoplanet pics all the way back in 2004. If you've ever been nervous about getting a question wrong in class or other group environment though, consider the results. Perhaps a bit of embarrassment for you versus Bard's mistake causing Google's parent company Alphabet to lose more than $100 billion in market value by Wednesday. Perhaps they should make their intelligence less artificial? And in closing, a word of warning, my friends, as Valentine's Day is fast approaching, and perhaps you have a loved one to share the day with, or perhaps you don't and resent even being reminded of things like love, physical closeness, or boinking, as the kids like to say these days, and that's fine. In fact, even if boinking is off the table completely for you, which is a good idea because it's really not that comfortable anyway, a couch or a bed is just way more functional, I'm happy to inform you that St. Valentine is on your side this week and has sent the proper enforcers to make sure that you and Valentine's Day have zero interaction effectively. See here, his winged cherubs are already at work severing fiber optic lines that connect you to the internet so you may live out the week blissfully unaware of any boinking that might be taking place. I can't think of anything sexier than that. Well, I can, but I'm out of time. So there you have it, guys. Tech news for the week. And if you liked it, click that like button, or maybe make it a heart for Valentine's Day. Maybe leave me a comment down below too. While you're down there, all the articles I talked about today are linked in the description if you're interested. And you can also check out my store at paulishardware.net for high quality merchandise, t-shirts, hoodies, beer sets, and more. Subscribing to my channel is always a good call too. Thanks again for watching, everyone, and we'll see you next week.